Welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news and update show. And today we've got a huge boost, huge breakthrough in regards to Marcus Rashford to Barcelona, because Nico Williams will not be going to Barcelona. He will not be going to Barcelona. He signed a new 10-year deal at Bilbao with a higher release clause, which pretty much puts Rashford to Barcelona as number one. Barcelona now will be working on a deal for Marcus Rashford. This is brilliant stuff. We know Rashford is willing to take a wage cut to go to Barcelona. We know Barcelona's interest is genuine, but all this focus on Nico Williams meant that Barcelona were like, oh, we could only do a loan for Rashford. It looks like Marcus Rashford could be on the way out. We will talk about the latest on that. We will talk about Barcelona's registration issues, but Rashford taking a wage cut will make it easier. We will talk about that. There's more reports coming out that Sancho is going to lower his wages because he's desperate for a Juventus move. We will talk about that as well. Hojlund, there's reports coming out that Hojlund has agreed terms to join Inter. Reports about that. Hojlund's agreed terms to join Inter. I don't really think that's a significant report, actually. To be honest, I don't think it's a significant report because we know that Hojlund's open to Inter and Inter want Hojlund. It doesn't matter if Hojlund's agreed terms with Inter if Inter are only going to do a loan. Man United want a permanent. So there's reports about Hojlund and Inter agreeing terms. Alanga, Alvaro, the cash coming in, which is good. We spoke about that yesterday. United want to sign a centre-back. They have interest in youth players. So yeah, there's a lot of stories coming out, but we have obviously got a huge boost in regards to Marcus Rashford, and that is mostly due to Nico Williams. So we're going to talk about that and more. So, oh, sorry, I thought my doorbell rang. Nico Williams has renewed his contract at Athletic Club. So Nico Williams will not be going to Barcelona, which opens the door for Marcus Rashford. The only question is, will Barcelona be able to register Marcus Rashford? Because one of the reasons Nico Williams signed a new deal at Athletic Club is due to registration issues with Barcelona. Will Barcelona be able to register Rashford? That is the big question. Now, Marcus Rashford is willing to wait. Marcus Rashford is willing to lower his wages to go to Barcelona, and it could be easier to get Rashford to Barcelona. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I want to just quickly check something. Bear with. Sorry, I was just checking something there. In regards to, obviously, because basically I wanted to just get some information up in regards to that. Guys, do you want an update on Mbumo? Do you want an update on Mbumo? We have been told the same thing today and yesterday that we've been told for about 3 weeks on Mbumo from 10 different sources saying Mbumo was close, Mbumo was close, Mbumo was close. Cool, but we've been told for ages Mbumo is close. The Mbumo update is just absolutely nothing, just everybody telling us he's close. But we've been told that for a while. Do you think Rashford to Barcelona could still be a loan? Well, this is the question because of the registration issues. Will Barcelona be able to do a permanent deal for Rashford? You know, they were willing to pay Nico Williams' transfer fee, so they've got the money for a transfer fee. But will they be able to sign Rashford on a permanent? That's the question. So Barcelona are blocked from registering Nico Williams due to the financial rules of La Liga, spending versus income. They lack the salary cap space. Now, interestingly, Nico Williams' wage demands are more than Rashford's. If Rashford is willing to lower his wages to a certain extent, which we don't know yet, then they shouldn't have issues registering Rashford. We also know that Rashford would cost 40 million compared to the 58 million Williams would have cost. We know that. So registering Rashford requires less spend and less salary space. So Barcelona cannot register Nico Williams, okay? They cannot register Nico Williams. So people are saying, why are they going to register? How are they going to register Rashford? First of all, Nico Williams costs £18 million more than Marcus Rashford. And Nico Williams is actually demanding a larger salary than Marcus Rashford. So you've got to take that into account. It also doesn't help, as someone said, that they can't get rid of Ansu Fati, Ter Stegen, even is Christensen still there? High earners. Obviously, if Ansu Fati was completely out of the wage bill, it would have been easier. But the bottom line is, Barcelona cannot register Nico Williams now due to a lack of available financial headroom under the salary rules. However, Rashford is feasible, whether it's a structured loan, whether it's because he's a lower fee than Nico Williams, or whether it's because Rashford is willing to take a wage cut. Rashford is feasible. Now, Barcelona ideally would need to sell a player to have the funds to bring in Nico Williams, but Rashford is feasible. So a lot of people are saying, okay, but they can't register Nico Williams, so how are they going to be able to register Rashford? Rashford is a cheaper deal to do than Nico Williams. Despite Rashford's wages, he's a cheaper deal to do. And if Fati was sold, it would have helped. If Fati was sold, it would have helped. And that doesn't help them. Barcelona are in a similar situation to us, where they've given some players some ridiculously high wages, and now they can't offload it. Like, I think Ansu Fati's on like 400k a week or something, Richard. What is Ansu Fati on? Ansu Fati makes salary wages per week. I feel like they gave him a ridiculous contract. Ansu Fati's on like 250k a week, which is actually mad when you deep it. Actually mad. Oh, let me mute my phone. Don't want that bleeping. So yeah, in regards to Marcus Rashford, obviously big updates coming out in regards to Nico Williams to Barcelona is now off. Nico Williams to Barcelona is now off. He will not be going to Barcelona, which opens the door massively for Marcus Rashford. He's waiting for Barcelona. Nico Williams is a more expensive deal to do, and they could not do it due to registration issues. Because Marcus Rashford is more affordable and willing to take a wage cut, Barcelona should not have the same issues when it comes to registering Marcus Rashford. That's sort of the update on that. I think Nico Williams is also overrated. Nico Williams is honestly, if you take away what Nico Williams did in the Euros, you can't tell me he's better than Garnacho. Like, we played against Nico Williams twice. Or was it once? I don't know if did he play in the second leg? I can't remember. I mean, I honestly think, to be honest, this isn't a bad thing for Barcelona. I honestly think Nico Williams is overrated. Like, I think he's a good player, a good talent. He's a direct player. But actually, this time last year, I was all for Nico Williams because I got involved in that Euro hype. I was all for Nico Williams this time last year. But then the more and more I've watched Nico Williams, I've gone, you know what, this kid's a bit overrated. Like, he is. Like, I saw him play against Ollie's Besiktas. He was awful. Honestly. Barcelona have arguably the worst financial situation than us, yet found a way to win the league. I know that's crazy, isn't it? Barcelona are the one team with worse finances than us. Bilbao make a lot of talents. Also, with Bilbao, they don't buy players. They literally make their talents. So I guess there's a lot of players will feel loyalty, particularly in the Basque region. And there's always elements of loyalty there as well. But yes, that is the news in regards to Marcus Rashford, that he's obviously got a big boost. He's got a big boost with Nico Williams now staying. Barcelona could be all eyes on Marcus Rashford. But I want to talk about a few more stories in regards to exits and outs. So we've got more sources coming out and suggesting that Sancho would be willing to take a wage cut to join Juventus. Great, but actions speak louder than words. I don't want sources telling me that Sancho could take a pay cut. I want to see that Sancho has taken a pay cut. So let's talk about the latest in regards to Jadon Sancho. Yesterday, Juventus proposed a straight swap deal of Jadon Sancho and Douglas Luiz, and Manchester United are considering it. Okay, interesting. Douglas Luiz, not his biggest fan, thought he was a little bit overrated at Villa, but I do think he'd be a good addition to our midfield. Sancho is willing to take a pay cut, as he only wants to sign for Juventus. So this is the third source of information in the last 2 days saying Sancho wants Juventus, he really wants the Juventus move, he's willing to take a wage cut. Great. Now I want to see Sancho take a wage cut. I don't want to be told for the last 3 days that Sancho is willing to take a wage cut to leave Man United to find out that he's still negotiating over salary of Juventus. I want to see Sancho, confirmed by Romano Ornstein, agree personal terms with Juventus and take that wage cut. And ideally, I would like Juventus to give us 25 million for Jadon Sancho and not involve Douglas Luiz. But if it has to involve Douglas Luiz to get Sancho out the door, I'm willing to accept it. That's my stance on it. Marcus Rashford and Antony willing to take wage cuts to get out of Man United. Garnacho's on a low wage as it is. That's quite easy. Jadon Sancho has the interest there. 25 million clause. Boom. Take a wage cut. Apparently he wants to. Apparently he's open to it. Apparently he wants to. Well, I want to see it. I want to see you take a wage cut. That's what I want to see. So right now we've got Nico Williams to Barcelona off. Marcus Rashford to Barcelona very much back on. That's a big breakthrough for Marcus Rashford in itself. Rashford could finally be on the way out. He also has interest from Bayern Munich. So Bayern Munich being interested in Rashford could give Barcelona a little bit of competition as well. That's always going to help us out. Jadon Sancho now apparently willing to take a wage cut to get out of Manchester United, which obviously is a big boost there. So they could be finally on the way out. But there's also now reports coming out of Rasmus Hojlund agreeing personal terms with Inter, which I don't think is that significant, but I want to get into it. So, Inter's interest in Hojlund is concrete, and we know that. The problem with Inter's interest in Hojlund is Romano has said, yes, Inter like Hojlund, but Inter don't ideally want to do a permanent deal. They want to do a loan with an option to buy. United want an obligation, or they want a permanent sale. Laurie Whitwell, who's a good source of information, did say Hojlund leaving is more likely than Hojlund staying, and there's been strong indications that Hojlund will go. Now, there is reports and news coming out that Hojlund has verbally agreed personal terms with Inter Milan. He's pushing for the move, and negotiations are still early stage between clubs. A couple of people are saying that Hojlund's agreed personal terms with Inter Milan. First of all, I don't think this is the most credible source of information, so I would take it with a pinch of salt. Second of all, Hojlund probably has agreed personal terms with Inter Milan, because apparently Hojlund's open to the move and Inter want Hojlund. He probably has maybe verbally said to Inter, I would agree these terms. Because Inter are working on a deal. But Hojlund agreeing personal terms with Inter isn't really news. Isn't really news. Because Man United know that Hojlund's agreeing personal terms with him is easy because he's on low wages. Okay, cool. We know that Hojlund's more likely to leave. We know that Hojlund's more open to leaving. Cool. But we need somebody to agree for United. So Hojlund agreeing in personal terms with Inter, if true, good, cool. That's a suggestion the move is advancing. But it's not Man United and Inter agreeing anything. And until Manchester United and Inter agree anything, well, nothing's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, cool. Hojlund could finally be on the way out, agreeing terms to leave. Sancho now willing to take a wage cut and set to agree terms with Juventus, but we've been told that for 3 days. I'm fed up of it. I want to see it happen. I want confirmation that that is happening. And Rashford gets a big breakthrough in his move to Barcelona with the Nico Williams deal being off. So that's 3 Manchester United players potentially on the way out, which means money is coming in. And obviously we're going into the start of the season. We're going back to training on Monday with Ruben Amorim's only new signing likely to be Cunha, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the thought of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Garnacho and Antony returning to training when they're clearly not wanted and Cunha being the only signing is ridiculous. So hopefully these exits, these sales, they speed up because Manchester United do not want these players here by Monday. They set a deadline. Also, apparently, we set an Mbeumo deadline for today. Apparently, we have a deadline to get Mbeumo over the line today, which is absolutely crazy, which means hopefully we get a here we go for Mbeumo today. But who knows? But continuing on, we do have some money coming in. We do have some money on the way, which is some good news here. And I'm going to get into that. I do want to get into the live chat as well. Because I am very behind on the live chat. But there's just quite a lot of news to cover and get into. So I like to kind of cover the news, then get into the live chat. Kaya says, would rather take Vlahovic than Douglas Luiz. Yes, okay. I want you guys to let me know down below. Vlahovic or Douglas Luiz? If we're selling Sancho and a player has to go the other way, would you rather take Vlahovic or would you rather take Douglas Luiz? I think Inter just want a 9 depth. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't know if Inter will do a permanent deal for Hojlund because I just think they want 9 depth. But there is talk of Lautaro leaving. Yeah. Money from Malanga. We're going to talk about that. Vlahovic could suffer in the Premier League. A lot of people want Vlahovic, Douglas Luiz. Very mixed about what you guys want. Very mixed. I think more people would rather get Douglas Luiz. We do need a midfielder. Obviously, in my video yesterday, we spoke about Manchester United's need for a midfielder. And I spoke in my video yesterday and I said, like, the money we could get for some pure profit sales could fund a midfield deal. Like, that's the mad thing about it. Like, I don't know if we're going to sign a midfielder. Like, I don't know that. I want us to sign a midfielder. I hope we sign a midfielder. I don't know for sure if we're going to sign a midfielder because, like, let's be totally honest. Manchester United are doing one deal at a time and it's taken ages now. We want to sign a midfielder, but until we make some sales, we can't. But I do think getting Boom over the line, the money we get from the pure profit sell-on clauses of Elanga, Alvaro could fund a midfield signing, which would be great. But if we don't get a midfield signing, Douglas Luiz coming the other way for Sancho, it at least boosts us the midfield because United want a poll. United want, sorry, not a poll. I just read that. Make a poll. United want a midfielder. They want a replacement for Eriksen. We have been linked to the Botafogo goalkeeper to replace Bayendier. I don't know how credible it is, but we have been linked to him. Luiz and Bruno don't mix. Vlahovic will ask for big wages. If reasonable with his contract, I would take him. Yeah, that's the problem. Ideally, I don't want any of them. Do you know what I mean? Ideally, I don't want any of them because I'm like, the wages he's going to ask for would be ridiculous. So ideally, I don't want Vlahovic or Douglas Luiz. But if it's getting Sancho out the door, you do it. You take it. You accept it. Do you know what I mean? That's sort of my mindset with all of that. So yeah, I want to talk about sell-on clauses. I want to talk about the money coming in because it looks like Man United do finally have some money coming in, which is good news. So I want to dive into these stories here in regards to Elanga. Everybody talk about it, have a conversation. What can United do? I'd love, which midfield would you last, Tay? I'd love, and it's never going to happen, so it's probably irrelevant me saying this, but I'd absolutely love Baleba. Carlos Baleba of Brighton is who I'd love. That's the guy I want. But realistically, that's not going to happen, Carlos Baleba. But let me know your guys' dream midfielder down below. But that is who I'd want in a dream world. So, what's being said? What is being said? What is the latest in regards to some of the money coming in? So there's talk of us potentially making 8 million from Elanga to Forest. A 55 million bid from Newcastle has gone in. That is confirmed. Forest looking for 60 million. We could see Elanga going to Newcastle. Forest. We could see Elanga going to Newcastle. Elanga's currently at Forest. We could see Elanga going to Newcastle for £60 million, and United have a 20% sell-on clause for anything that is profit. So the profit would be about 45 million. We get 25% of that. We're looking around £8-9 million from a sale of Elanga. We're also looking at around £7 million in pure profit from the sell-on clause when Alvaro joins Real Madrid after the Club World Cup. And then Maxi Delay could bring in 1.3 million. He's got a €6 million release clause that's set to be paid. Yeah, so Manchester United could be bringing in around 16 million in pure profit from these sell-on clauses. From these sell-on clauses, we could be bringing around 60 million pure profit. I spoke about this in my video yesterday. Okay, if we buy a player and we cover his fees over 4 years, that means we could technically spend 64 million, which weirdly would cover Mbumo, maybe, would cover Watkins, but could also allow the funds for a midfielder. We spoke about it yesterday. Manchester United want a midfielder. Manchester United want to sign a midfielder. Manchester United apparently aren't working on any deals outside of Mbumo because after Mbumo, they will have to sell before they can actually work on other deals, which is annoying because Dumfries is there for 21 million. Richard Rios is there for 25 million. So I'm thinking, okay, if Elanga goes to Newcastle, Alvaro goes to Madrid, and Maxi Olideli leaves Warsaw, which is all a very 99% possibility right now, we're getting 16 million in pure profit coming in, which could allow us to spend a decent chunk of money. If Marcus Rashford is now going to Barcelona, which is looking increasingly likely with the Nico Williams news, that could be some pure profit coming in. Anthony and Betis, it feels like an outcome will be reached. And if Sancho really is willing to lower his wages and go to Juventus, then he's going to be off the wage bill and out. And all of a sudden, we've gone from nothing's happening, we're going to go back on Monday and all the players are going to be there and only one signing, it's a disgrace, we finished 15th, why aren't we moving, it's a disgrace. And it is. But we've gone from potentially that to actually, all of a sudden, things could move. All of a sudden, we could be getting some money in for Alvaro, Elanga. Rashford could be going to Barcelona. We could get the Anthony breakthrough. Sancho apparently is willing to lower his wages. Hojlund is talking with Inter. All of a sudden, we could get what we were hoping to happen when July comes is the domino effect. We weren't selling anyone in June, but when July comes, things change, PSR changes. All of a sudden, we might be getting that domino effect that obviously we want to get. Who knows if we will get it, but it's all positive sort of indications there. All positive indications there. PSR and finances are quite tight, so these small sell-on clauses are important. These small sell-on clauses are important. I look at Dumfries and I think, I didn't want Dumfries under Ten Hag because he wasn't a Ten Hag player. But I'm looking at Denzel Dumfries now, and I'm thinking Denzel Dumfries could be a really good deal and a really good bit of business for Manchester United. Denzel Dumfries for £21 million. I think that we need another wing back. Then we talk about Mbuma coming in and Ahmad playing wing back. Cool, that's the scenario. Great. But I still think if Denzel Dumfries is there and Denzel Dumfries is available on the market for £20 million, I don't care that he's a little bit older. I look at that and I go, that could be a good option there. That could be a really good option. So I'm thinking right now that the finances is tight, so we can't move for a midfielder, we can't move for a goalkeeper, we can't move for a wing back, even though we need that on top of Mbeumo and a striker because the finances are tight. But all of these sell-on clauses could make the finances less tight and put us in a position when we could move for this player, could move for that player, and that would be good. My throat is really dry, so I'm just going to take another sip of water. I did wonder this, how we could have got Alvaro back for 16 million and we weren't really willing to trigger his release clause. I did think about this. Maybe Amron just doesn't want him. I mean, I do think how much Alvaro could have cost and how much he could have saved us. I don't get why we never looked at triggering his release clause. I don't get that. Hojlund should be given more time. Who agrees with this? Because I honestly believe that Hojlund's going to be a good player. I honestly, strongly believe that Hojlund is going to be a good player and have a very good career. I strongly believe that. Which people are going to be sitting there going, Alice, what have you taken today? Because he was appalling last season. He couldn't even do it against Hong Kong, I know. But I don't think Hojlund's going to do anything if he stays at Manchester United. That's how I feel about Hojlund. If he goes over to Italy, he goes over to a sustainable squad, he gets his confidence up, there's less pressure on him, he can learn from an experienced striker, there's good players around him, he gets service. Hojlund will be a banging player. I'm confident of that. I don't think Hojlund will be a banging player if he stays at Man United. I think Hojlund will just fall if he stays at United. Look, Victor Gyökeres coming in, Ollie Watkins coming in. Yeah, it could help him, he can learn from that, sure. But, yeah, for me, I like Hojlund. I think he's a nice guy. But I think he works hard. I think he's got a good attitude. But he's just not good enough. And he's not been good enough for a while. That's sort of my mindset. Do you think we would play Mbeumo up top if we don't sign a striker? Potentially. We do plan to sign a striker, but I think having Mbeumo and Cunha that can both play 9, it gives us an advantage in the window. So when we're trying to negotiate a striker deal, we can say, well, look, we've got Cunha, we've got Mbeumo, we've got Xerxes, can all play number 9. We're not actually that desperate for a striker anymore. So then maybe we can get the price down of Ekatike or Watkins because everyone knows we're desperate, so they're putting the price up. But if we act like we're not desperate for a striker because of Cunha, because of Mbeumo, we could maybe get Ekatike or Watkins' price down if we do decide to move for them. Alex makes a good point. We don't even know if Alvaro was going to come back. He was kicked out by Ten Hag, basically, for like 4 or 5 million. Ten Hag never played him. Ten Hag's talent ID, man. Like, he chose Forson over Ahmad. He didn't even give Alvaro a chance. He was like, nah. Like, obviously, he brought through Maino and Garnacho, and that's incredible that in a 2.5-year tenure, he's brought through 2 players. That's incredible because it's rare these days. But you look at Alvaro, doesn't want him. He wanted Forson. He's not really done anything at Monza. He wouldn't play Ahmad. He let Alvaro go on the cheap. Like, I think we missed a trick with Alvaro. I was so annoyed when we sold him for that cheap. When you saw Chelsea selling Lewis Hall for 30 million and Lewis Hall had barely played any first team minutes, I was annoyed that we only sold Alvaro for about 5 million quid. I was annoyed. Hojlund's a nice guy, let's keep him. I don't mean it like that. Hojlund's a nice guy, he works hard, he's a nice kid, but he's not good enough for United. I don't want to keep him, but I want him to succeed. Do you know what I mean? You know when you want someone to succeed? Yeah. Big up to Mick in the chat saying, Alice tuned in. What did I miss with Marcus Rashford? Well, Barcelona will not be getting Nico Williams, which opens the door for Rashford. Now, Barcelona have registration issues with Nico Williams, but Marcus Rashford is a much more cheaper deal and feasible deal to do than Nico Williams. So potentially the registration issues with Nico Williams shouldn't be too much of a factor with Rashford. Obviously, if Barcelona sell people, it's better. But with Rashford willing to take a wage cut, that's the latest on that. Yeah, some of Ten Hag's talent ID. The players that Ten Hag rated some of the players that Ten Hag rated highly, who were crap, and some of the players that Ten Hag didn't rate, who were good. Ten Hag's talent ID was questionable. That let him down. I honestly think, okay, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I honestly believe, had we had competent people in the door when Ten Hag first arrived at Manchester United that took care of the transfers and didn't let Ten Hag impact it too much with his SEG, former Ajax shit, I think Ten Hag would have succeeded at United. Okay? And that might sound like a crazy thing to say. I think had we got recruitment right, Ten Hag would have been a success. We got recruitment so wrong, and Ten Hag was a big part of that because Ten Hag was pushing for players that weren't able to play in the Premier League physically. Anthony, good player outside the Premier League. He's proven that. He just can't do it in the Prem. And Ten Hag was going for these technical players, but ignoring physicality, which is massive in the Premier League. I honestly feel if Ten Hag had come in and we had a proper recruitment, and in Ten Hag's first season, we'd have done our recruitment properly, got a good DM in, gone for someone like Moises Caicedo, gone for someone like Declan Rice, physical abilities in his first season. I honestly think, Leach was a good signing, but if we got Declan Rice in midfield, if we'd have got Elise instead of Anthony, and I said we should have got Elise before Elise was even rated. we said 35 million. I said we should have got him. I honestly think we could have been in a much better position. I really do. I do. That's an unpopular opinion, but I felt like Ten Hag's recruitment and talent ID let him down. I don't think Ten Hag's a bad manager, and I will stick with that. I think his recruitment and talent ID really let him down. He underestimated the physicality of the Premier League, which is my favourite thing about Amorim, because Amorim is the complete opposite in that sense. Amorim is like, the Premier League's really physical. I need physical players, and I like that from Amorim. Physical, physical, physical. Amorim has a better talent ID than Ten Hag. Amorim by far has a better talent ID than Ten Hag. But I don't like Amorim's tactics. I don't like the two-man midfield. I don't like playing three centre-backs. I don't like wing-backs. But yeah, that's my unpopular opinion, which a lot of people are definitely going to disagree with. But I think Ten Hag's going to do well at Bayer Leverkusen, but I don't know what possessed him to spend 35 million on Kwanzaa, which is Bayer Leverkusen that chose it. It's the exec's fault. Gaffer given too much transfer authority. He didn't even have that much at Ajax, yeah. I just think his transfers ruined him. This guy seriously spent 60 million on Mason Mount, 50 million on Onana, 110 million, and 72 million on Hojlund. We spent 180 million on Mount, Onana, Hojlund. Now, Mount wasn't a bad deal, but he had 1 year left on his contract, so we should have got Mount for 40 million. Injuries have made it a bad deal. Had we got Mount for 40 million because he had 1 year left on his contract and he wasn't having the injury issues, it would have been a very good deal. But we spent 180 million on Onana, Hojlund, and Mount under Ten Hag. His talent ID was atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Yeah. I mean, I would have liked Rice. I would have liked Caicedo at Manchester United. That's what I would have liked. I remember Ten Hag's first summer, I was saying we should go for Declan Rice, and I was saying we should have gone for Elise. That's what I was saying, and I wish we went for them. And then Ten Hag's second summer, I said, let's not go for Mason Mount. Let's go for Caicedo. We went for Mason Mount. I said we wanted Harry Kane. But yeah, that was the thing. I've not really watched much of the Club World Cup because, one, it doesn't really interest me, but two, it's on at ridiculous time. So I've not seen much of Madrid. I've only seen the Trent's first game where he was getting roasted. Absolutely roasted. Eric Ten Hag's talent ID was bringing in former players. But you know what's mad? I remember he brought in Amrabat and then he didn't even play him until right at the end. But how good was Amrabat in his last 2 months? Amrabat was so underwhelming. He finally got a run of games in his last 2 months. Amrabat's last 2 months at United, he was really good. We were talking about, should we keep him? Amrabat's last 2 months at United was mad. Is Rodrigo going to Arsenal? Well, I don't know. He's going to leave Madrid. I could see Liverpool going for Rodrigo. I could seriously see Liverpool going for Rodrigo because obviously there's talk of Diaz or Gatpo leaving. There's interest in Diaz. Chiesa is probably going to go. Rodrigo can play right and left. I could see Liverpool going for Rodrigo, but Liverpool will go for a striker first because they want to move on Nunez. But I think Rodrigo will probably go to Arsenal maybe. But you can't rule Bayern out and you can't rule Liverpool out. But it'll be one to watch. Rodrigo was bang average last season. I think he's a good player, though. I just think him with Kirkes on the left at Liverpool, he'd be so good. But Liverpool don't need a left winger as much as Arsenal. I think him in the right environment, Bayern could go for him. Bayern could go for him. Someone said Rashford breakthrough. Yeah, basically, Nico Williams is not going to Barcelona. That is, Marcus Rashford has probably looked at his phone with a big effing smile today. Marcus Rashford has definitely looked at his phone with a big effing smile today when he saw that Nico Williams news. That is big news for Marcus Rashford. That is big news. And people are saying, but Alice, you know, this, that. No. But Marcus Rashford's more affordable than Nico Williams, okay? Marcus Rashford's definitely looked at that news, definitely looked at that story with a big smile on his face today. Definitely. That's big news for Rashford. I think Rashford will go to Barcelona. I think he'll go to Barcelona. It's not like Rodrigo's going to go there. Rodrigo lacks the consistency. I feel like he's going to get a reality check next season. I do think a lot of players, when they're Brazilian and they go to Madrid, they get this PR around them. If you're Brazilian and you're at Madrid, you get a different level of PR around you. And then you realise that these players maybe aren't it and they've got that PR around them. So it will be difficult. But yeah, there is talk about Barcelona looking at Luis Diaz as well. And they also remain keen on Rashford. So Barcelona now want either Diaz or Rashford. I think Diaz is a much harder deal to do because, one, obviously the horrible stuff that's gone on with Jota yesterday. I think Liverpool will have to take that into consideration when it comes to selling an attacker because they want Nunez gone and all of that, and sadly he won't be coming back. And two, they didn't want to sell him anyway. So I think Luis Diaz will probably be who Barcelona maybe prefer to Rashford, but it will be a harder deal to do. Liverpool have rejected approaches from Bayern. Barcelona do have some interest in Diaz, and they do have some interest in Rashford. Now, the thing that worries me, okay, because that is big news for Marcus Rashford, but the thing that worries me is Marcus Rashford's made it so clear he wants Barcelona. He's practically begging for Barcelona that I do think this makes it harder for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have Rashford as an alternative, but they know he's begging for Barcelona. That's my one fear in regards to Rashford, because he's desperate for Barcelona. Is that going to put Bayern off him? Is that going to put Bayern off him as well? Yeah. Rest in peace to Jota. I mean, I still can't believe the news that came out yesterday. It's honestly so sad. Honestly, so sad, that whole situation. Yeah, rest in peace to Jota. I mean, a lot of people are asking about how that could impact United's window. I think Garnacho would be good for Chelsea. I think Garnacho would be a good move for Chelsea. We'll have to see what happens there. I do want to get into a few other stories. Moving on. Yeah. So, Man United do have interest in signing a centre-back. So, Nathan Salt and Chris Wheeler said an additional centre-back may be needed depending on which players leave before the end of the transfer window, but the new striker will be the priority when the Mbeumo deal is done. I like how a lot of sources are saying when the Mbeumo deal is done. When the Mbeumo deal is done, because there is a feeling, and a strong feeling, that Mbeumo will be done. Bear with me, people. I just got to update something. There is a strong feeling the Mbeumo deal will be done, but we've been saying that for 3 weeks. I'm so fed up with Mbeumo this and Mbeumo that, because we've been saying for 3 weeks a deal is close. There's a strong feeling a deal will be done. La di la di la di la di la di la di la in regards to Mbeumo. But yeah, that's the situation. But they said that United do have interest in a centre back. I don't think we're going to sign a centre back unless it's a cheap one. I think with Lindelof and Evans going, Man United will understandably feel the need that they might need some depth. We play three at the back. A lot of our centre-backs are very injury prone. But the way I see it is Mbeumo, striker, midfielder. I think after Mbeumo, we'll go for a striker. After some sales, we'll go for a midfielder. If Bayendier leaves, we'll get a goalkeeper. And then if we have the money right in August, we might go for a wing-back that puts Mazraoui centre-back permanently, or a centre-back. I think we probably could do with maybe a 19, 20-year-old centre-back that's 10 million quid that suits the system. But I don't think it's possible. I think we've got so many other priorities that while we need a centre-back for depth, it's not that we need a starting centre-back. A lot of our other positions we need a starting player. At centre-back we don't. So I think we could ignore centre-back. But we have interest for sure. But we actually really wanted a centre-back when Leacher first got injured. But because Aiden Heaven's done so well, Manchester United's need for a centre-back is definitely a bit less. We're not signing more than 3 players. I think we'll sign 4 players. I think we'll sign 4 players this window. I think we'll get Mbeumo. I think we'll get a striker, and I think we'll get a midfielder. I think we'll sign 4 players. Alex said, though, I'm worried we may not sign a 9. Most of the options are complicated or keen to go elsewhere. I think we could go for Watkins, but it depends on the price. With Ahmad and Delo, I don't think we need a wing back if Mbeumo joins. It's not a priority, but I think we could do with one. A lot of people don't think we'll sign more than 3 players. Rashford needed competitive football from the day he showed his talent because of his attitude. That ship has sailed. He's aiming way too high. He should be at Championship club. I think you're underrating Rashford there. I honestly think put Rashford in the right environment, he's going to be lethal. I honestly think that. Do you think Rashford could go to Bayern? If he doesn't go to Barca, I think Rashford is definitely prioritising Barcelona. But I think if Rashford doesn't get that Barcelona move, I think Marcus Rashford would be very open to Bayern if he doesn't get that Barcelona move. But the problem is everyone knows that Rashford's begging it for Barcelona. And I think that puts Bayern off him. And that's annoying because if Barcelona do go for, let's say, Luis Diaz, which is a possibility, but I don't know how Liverpool feel about selling Diaz, either puts Rashford in trouble. But I think this is a big boost for Rashford, a big breakthrough, this Nico Williams news. But Barcelona have interest in Diaz. The thing that annoys me is Barcelona are ready to pay up for Diaz and just leave Rashford there. That's what I mean. You're ready to pay for Nico Williams and you're ready to pay for Diaz, but you tell Man United you can't pay for Rashford. We are absolutely being mugged off by Barcelona. It's so annoying. Anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up today's show here. I just want to talk about Rashford and the outs and some positive news coming in on that. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.